So the other type of genetic inheritance that affects humans, and what you probably think of when you think of the gene-environment interaction, are the genes that make us different from one another, that produce the individual differences that you see between people. And this is our individual genetic inheritance. So we certainly have the same genes as other members of the human species, but we also have slightly different genes from one another, and this makes us different. These genes, our individual genetic code, always combines with our specific environment that we find ourselves in, to produce the individual differences that you see. These individual differences are likely the result of mutations that occurred through the evolution of our species that produced advantage for certain individuals. And mutations are just spontaneous changes in genetic codes. This can happen during gene cell division, during gamete, again, cell division. An example here is mutations aren't always, we tend to think of them as negative, and this is an example of a negative mutation, which is albinoism, which is seen in every species, and it would prevent this animal from being able to camouflage itself. And because an albino alligator is just as yummy as a regularly colored alligator, this one would be very likely to be eaten. So we tend to see them in zoos. But mutations also produced positive changes that were functional for the individual, and so those traits were passed along. And so here you can see a positive mutation in the owl moth, which is also described in your text. So here are some common examples of individual differences in inherited traits that we see from birth, and that we see among individuals. We know intelligence level is inherited. We know personality is inherited. Tendency towards mental illness is inherited, right? It runs in families. And then the best explanation of homosexuality at this point is that it is also an inherited trait.